Spirit Switchboard, airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3, New Orleans. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Spirit Switchboard. I am your host, Kerrilynn Shellhorn, and you are listening to me live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7, New Orleans. Today on the show, I have my friend and colleague, Missy Vermeersch. She is fabulous. And she's fabulous in every way. And I am so excited to be able to share her with you. Missy has been immersed on a personal, energetic, physical, spiritual healing journey for over 11 years. And she's taken her wealth of knowledge and experience and is now offering it to her clients with a mix of different healing modalities, Reiki, Celtic Shamanism, sound therapy, and we get to spend some time with her today talking about all of those things. Welcome to the show, Missy.
Oh, thank you, Kerrilynn. I'm so happy to be here.
I was trying to think before the show started how long ago we met, and I couldn't remember. It's been a while.
I've been trying to think the same thing, and I'm going to say at least 10, 12 years or more, maybe, at least.
That's what I thought. At least 10, right? At least 10. It's been a privilege.
Oh, it's also been a privilege. I am so honored that you're my friend. I'm so happy you're my friend and colleague, and I'm happy to be here today to share and to chat with you. And yeah.
And I think what happens when we start this journey, some of us start because we've run out of hope. We get to that bottom of the barrel and we're not sure where to turn. So we start turning towards those, alternative healing modalities. So I find those of us that end up teaching, healing, offering what we have, we really have complex histories and complex stories. Would you mind sharing, what inspired you to begin that healing journey?
Yeah, you nailed it right there. My journey started 11 years ago or so when, I got into a motorbike accident. So I had been working at an auto factory before that. I was a tobacco farmer's daughter. So that was my life, just working, plugging away, paying the bills, raising my son and doing the things I love. And one of those things was riding a motorbike. And one day I got into a head-on collision with another vehicle, and I knew instantly that my life was going to change. I was lucky enough to walk away, alive for one. And I started going into the therapies like assembly line physio and massage and things like that. And they just didn't seem to be fixing me, so to speak. So one day, I moved to St. Thomas from London because I had been living in London. And one day I moved here and I started finding therapists here. And I found this really wonderful, amazing lady, physiotherapist, who she's just way more than a physiotherapist. She had so many different modalities that she offered that I started to see that there probably was hope for me to find something else that would help me. So I started seeing her more and taking her recommendations to other therapists. And I started finding ways to help myself. There's a time and a place for the Western therapies, and they helped me get through certain things. But after about 5 or 6 years of being in that realm, I knew I needed to find something else. So I was introduced to Reiki, and I took my first degree Reiki, and I knew from then that I could start helping myself. And once I'd been practicing on myself for a while, I knew I had to offer other people this modality. So Reiki led to sound therapy. One night I was at a Reiki share group, which is a group where a bunch of practitioners, Reiki practitioners, would get together and they would practice Reiki on each other, like giving and receiving sessions for each other, because, you know, we as practitioners, we need to fill our buckets and receive Reiki as well. And also practice how the Reiki feels in you and giving it to other people. So I was at a Reiki share one night, and a lady came with a singing bowl, just one 8-inch crystal singing bowl. And I was immediately intrigued, like, oh, what is that? And then when she said she was going to be leading us in a meditation, I kind of did like an inward eye roll, because I have never found anything that could help slow my mind, give me to slow my mind and stop all the thinking that was going on in my head.
Right.
The Chihuahua brain, the monkey mind, right?
Yep.
So I inwardly eye rolled, and I thought, oh gosh, there's like 7 or 8 minutes I'm going to have to like think about my grocery list or whatever, right? So, but she started playing that bowl and speaking the guided meditation, and I was gone. I knew immediately I need to get one, and I did. I bought one, and then I bought a set of 7, and anyways, I now have 13 crystal singing bowls. And for those that can see, I have them positioned behind me, and they range from like 4 inches to 20 inches wide. And I just love the sound of them, the vibrations and frequencies that come from them, the way they make me feel. And from there, that just naturally led to offering them out to other people in group sessions and individual sessions. So that's a bit about my journey.
Yeah. And you've added crystals and essential oils. Like there's different facets to what it is that you have to offer. It's not just sound, right? Is it individualized, I guess?
Right. I've added crystals. Like I've always been drawn to crystals. So that just became a natural thing for me to start bringing them in here to work with. So I work with crystals with people, with sessions. And I also have some available here, because if they leave, like some people have left a session really feeling drawn to a certain crystal that came up or that I used during the session. So then I direct them to my cabinet. I have my old china cabinet is now being repurposed, and it's my crystal cabinet. So I have crystals here, and I work with crystals. Like I have crystal grids under the bed, and just all around the room. And I wear them. I try to bring them into my life as much as I can. And essential oils also, to me, they just seem to make sense to bring these together. The sound, the energy therapies with crystals and oils, it just feels like a big a package for me.
So. Right. So it's a whole sensory experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And when we're tapping into intuition, that's what it is as well, right? It's a see, hear, feel, taste, smell. It's right. All those extra sensory things. So we're going to get pulled to one muscle that's a little stronger is going to get pulled to one, and as we build the rest of them. So do you find when you have clients that are coming to you that when you lean in with your intuition, it's guiding you to what they're most needing, or do you have sort of a guideline that you follow? Could you walk us through that?
Well, the guideline has sort of changed and morphed as my experience has grown too. And I'm happy to roll with that. In the beginning, I was, offering straight up Reiki sessions. And as I became, how do I say it? As I became more practiced at it, my intuition started to seep in there. I would start feeling things and hearing things. And mine is more of just a knowing or like a visual inside.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be directed to like places on their body, or to draw crystals from the bowl that I keep near the bed. And I always ask permission beforehand, are you okay if I'm drawn to use crystals? And I don't think I've had anybody say no yet.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I'm drawn to them and sometimes I'm not. But yes, absolutely. If I get a feeling, I just pick up that crystal and I place it wherever it feels right to place it. And that's being guided by my intuition.
And the crystals are going to be like the purpose or the intention of that crystal will be amplified by the sound.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Like, so often I always have the crystals on the table too. When I do a sound bath, I have crystals on the table, and that just that helps charge them too, and it puts the vibration of the crystal higher and out into the room, like the sound goes as well. So
it feels yummy.
It is yummy, and I'm so privileged to be able to do this. I'm so like, this is not work for me. My previous jobs, they were jobs I had to go to, 9 to 5, whatever, buzzer to buzzer, and this is not a job to me. This is like, I genuinely feel privileged to offer this to people. Like, to be able to do it for myself and to offer it to others. I'm in love with it. So.
There's so much gratitude when our path and our purpose that is also our passion, right? And not everybody can say that. Not everybody can say that they're doing their path and purpose is also their passion. So people will feel that, they'll feel the energy that you are bringing to the table as well too.
Well, I hope so. I like to feel that they do. So
for sure. We do have somebody a listener that's commenting, and we can't see their name. It just says Facebook user at the moment, but they've said, I've done a group session with Missy and it's otherworldly.
Oh,
otherworldly, Missy.
Otherworldly. Well, thank you, Facebook user.
That's brilliant. That's so brilliant. Do you feel that people, because sound therapy, when I hear that term sound therapy, I have to admit it was kind of like out here. It was over there. Sound therapy. Okay. The same as music therapy. Okay. It's kind of over there. But when you start thinking about what it actually is and doing, there's ways that you're incorporating that throughout the day already without even realizing that you're doing it. Mm-hmm. Like, can you talk to us about that?
Well, I think I would like to hope everybody anyways, has their favorite music that they like to turn on. Like when you get in the car and go for a drive, do you turn on your Spotify account, or do you like it shows your favorite music, so always music. And
even going to bed at night, like my sister will not go to bed without a fan going.
Right.
Like it's a sound, it's a vibration. Like,
yeah,
it's that hum that helps her relax, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I know for me, music has always been the biggest thing for me, ever since I was a child, being drawn in by, even the music that my parents listened to. Like my mom was a huge Elvis fan. So you could count on coming into the house and hearing Elvis. And, to this day, I can still hear some of his songs and the emotions that they bring up. Right. So, and then as a teenager, that morphed for me into, rock ballads. Or
so what would be your music influences
right now or as a teenager?
So okay, but then I agree, does it changes as we change, and does it depend on mood and experience and who we're sharing the moment with?
I would say absolutely. Like
all of it.
As a teenager, I mean, throw on a Bon Jovi CD and I was like out to town, I loved it. Right. Like Bon Jovi. And I'm a big rock ballad kind of gal. Like, Stairway to Heaven, Led Zeppelin, like all the feels, like Poison, Every Rose Has Its Thorn, that kind of thing,
Right.
right? But there's other songs like I'm also the gal at the the baseball game when they start playing the national anthem. I cry.
Right. Ave Maria.
Oh,
Everybody cries with Ave Maria. That gets super emotional. And it's the tones. Adele, when she sings and hits a certain note, everybody's got tears in their eyes right away too, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
It hits a frequency within us that we resonate with, and it brings things to the surface.
Yeah, and it
So,
can be the tone of their voice, the sound of their voice, or the lyrics, like all of them put together. Just, yeah, music has been huge for me. So, and I do think that changes over time. Like my likes now are different than when I was a teenager or a younger child. Now, I mean, give me a concert ticket to Blue Rodeo and I'm gone. Like I've probably seen them like a dozen times in the last 15 years or so. I love what they stand for. I love the sound of their voices and how they are together. It's just everything about them. So,
and we're drawn to people's voices too. Like there's a certain tone or the cadence. Is that the right word? Cadence, like the way that they speak, that we're really drawn to. I had I had an experience. I did an intuitive painting course with some friends of mine, and I said to my friend during that course, because she was talking, and I stare at her fangirling so much because I just adore this friend so much. And I said, I just want you to read me bedtime stories. Nothing weird or creepy about it, but man, your voice it makes my shoulders relax and I can feel my face relax. I just adore you so much. So this is Linda Earle from Pachamama. And so a few weeks later, I get a parcel in the mail, and it's a children's bedtime story that you can record yourself reading. And Linda had picked it up, and she read the bedtime story and recorded herself and sent it to me so I can listen to her at nighttime.
That's awesome.
Isn't it fabulous? I adore Linda. But I had saw a video of Michael Bublé. And he had said the same. He was doing an interview, and Matthew McConaughey, we all resonate with that voice, right? Like, all right, all right, all right. It's that Southern smoothness that we're drawn to. Yep. And, Michael turned to him and he said, I don't know if you know, but you sleep with me and my wife every night. So Matthew McConaughey has like a bedtime story that has a meditation that he reads on Calm. And he, Michael Bublé was very open about, he deals with insomnia and all the things that come along with that. And it puts him in that place to be able to sleep and get to that deep sleep. And so, when we were preparing for this show, and that was the first thing I thought of is, it's part of that whole healing and sound. There's sound all the time, whether we're aware of it or not. There's always a hum in the background of a machine or car, something. There's always something that is there that is part of our world. And how can we use it to heal and benefit us?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So funny. Okay. So then my question to you would be, if you could pick, who would be your person that you want to read a bedtime story to? Like, who do you want to read you to sleep at night? Famous, not famous, doesn't matter.
I'd have to say Morgan Freeman. Like his voice
really?
is, oh my God, his voice is so right. It's so calming though. Or maybe Edward or James Earl Jones. Sorry. Maybe James Earl Jones. Like just even thinking about their voices are so calming for me,
I don't know. I'd have James Earl Jones announce me every time I entered a room.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Why not? My granddaughter calls me Queenie. Queenie has now entered the room. Queenie has now left the room. But it would put everybody at ease, right? It would put everybody at ease. Yeah. So do you find, though, the sound relaxes you so that you can receive the intention? Like, how much does intention and receptiveness play into sound therapy?
I think that, like anything that we do in life, our intent is, if your intent is clear, you will receive. So if you come in and you're open to receiving the benefits of a sound healing or a Reiki session or whatever you're talking about, then you'll receive those benefits. I think if you come in closed to that, I don't think your experience will be as great, if that makes sense.
Can you be receptive to it and not know what your intention is? Because I know I have been pulled to a crystal or pulled to take a healing modality session with someone and not really understand what my intention is. I just know I was pulled to do it, so I just followed it in, and I'm open to what it's supposed to be. So you can be receptive and not necessarily understand what the intention is.
Yeah, I would absolutely say that's true as well. Yeah, because I've had people come in here in group sessions and they don't know what they're in for because they've had a friend organize the group, right?
Right.
And, not to share any names, but I've actually had 3 people ask me, are you supposed to wear a bathing suit to the sound bath? I'm like, I think it's the most adorable thing. I'm like, no.
If you're most comfortable, please do.
I did say that actually. Hey, if you want to, if that's what floats your boat, then wear the bathing suit. But no, by no means do you have to wear a bathing suit. So I thought that was adorable. And one lady actually showed up in her bathing suit because it was a lady had planned, like she said, I'm going to speak for 7 seats here. So she just brought friends that she thought would benefit. And this one lady showed up in her bathing suit. That was so funny. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked.
No, it's brilliant. But I think, that's part of why we have these conversations, right? Like, I don't really understand what's involved with sound therapy. So having the conversation helps us all understand or be more open and receptive to what it is that you are offering to people.
Well, I think even like you said, you were pulled to try something and then you tried it. I mean, isn't that your intent right there? Like, really? If you're pulled to something and you feel like you need to try it for whatever reason, maybe you don't need to have that intent like written down or whatever, but that would be your intent to experience it and see what you could receive from it, right?
Yep, that makes sense for sure. For sure. And I hadn't thought of it, that way. I just understood. I felt like I was being pulled, and so away I went.
Awesome.
We do have a question from a Facebook user saying their question is, Missy, do you set an intention before you work?
Yes, I do. I do several things before I open up any session, whether it's an individual session or a group session. And that is for me to be a clear channel or a clear, like a hollow bone, I guess we would say, and just allow my intuition to come through me to be there for whatever that client needs at that moment. So that would be my intent. So I just really, sorry.
No, go ahead. Please.
I just want to give them the I don't want to say healing because I don't heal. The client heals themselves. I want them to be able to open themselves up to learn how to heal themselves. I want them to take their experience, whether it's Reiki or sound therapy, and to be able to learn from that what they specifically need.
So setting the intention like that, it's in, the highest good for the client before you start. Do you find as you start maneuvering through the session, a clear, so this is why, this is where we're needing to go. Does another specific, I guess that's the word I'm looking for. Does a specific intention reveal itself, or sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't? Does that ever happen?
Well, it usually does reveal itself. So if we're talking about sound therapy, in the beginning, when I started this a few years ago, I had meditations written out for each of the 7 chakras. And I would meditate before people came, and I would choose the 3 that I felt would be best for the group coming or the person coming. Okay. So that was me using my intuition and getting feedback from the clients. They always or often said that resonated with them, but that has morphed to me just addressing all of the chakras now. So in the beginning, it used to be like 2 or 3 or 4 of them, and now it's all of them because it feels like that's what I need to do to balance. So, but what does happen during a sound bath is I'll begin playing, and you'll never get the same sound bath twice or the same experience. I'll begin playing, and then I'm drawn to play one bowl or a gong or an instrument more than another. And it's always interesting to reflect afterwards, like why that happened. And say I have a group session, and in the talking afterwards, somebody would say, oh, that one sound was really like, it either brought them a lot of bliss in their body or it was really grating in their body, right? Like, or maybe they actually felt like a block dissolve in their throat or something like that, right? So it's always interesting to see that, you know, what I was drawn to is generally what's needed in the room by the participants or the client.
I did a session with someone, and they had did a crystal grid under the table. They had laid crystals that they were pulled to on top of me, and they had started doing sound as well. And I had a very surreal experience and had that starting to choke feeling, and I sat upright and the crystals flew everywhere. I like, this is typical Kerrilynn, right? This is a bowl in a china shop. It's gonna be big and loud and that experience propelled me on my journey. It was there was so much more to it, but it definitely propelled me forward. So I think that those clients, you know, that showed up in a bathing suit, right? Because I did the same thing. I didn't know why I was really pulled to it and why I was really there, but what needed to happen happened. And it took me a few days to process what actually, like, I think energetically and emotionally, it took me a few days to process. Is that how sound therapy would would they be processing it for a while after, not just in the moment during what it is that you have to offer? Am I phrasing that well?
Yeah, you're phrasing it perfectly. Yeah.
Okay.
I would definitely say everybody has their own method of processing or the length of time, because some people perhaps they've begun their journey and they're getting, so they may take a certain amount of time longer than others that are.
Sure. Missy, I'm just going to interrupt you just for a quick second. You kind of glitched out and we didn't hear part of your response. Would you mind just sharing that again, like right from the beginning? Thank you so much.
I think that everybody's experience would be different for that. Trying to remember what I was chatting about.
About how they were processing, how they process afterwards.
Right. So I think that everybody's different and every experience is different as well, because I've had clients come and they've come to me several times and they'll tell me that every experience is different. And sometimes they'll process something like immediately on the spot. And sometimes it's a week later or a month later or whatever, or 2 hours later, or the next morning they wake up with this, you know, they processed it and thought about it differently, or so I think everybody's different. And I think it depends too where you are on your journey. If you've been in, if you're experienced at reading your own spiritual, the things that happen to you, then maybe you can process it differently than if you're not as experienced. Right. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah. We have somebody asking There's a Facebook user asking, do you find that your clients will experience symptoms after sessions, nausea, headache, diarrhea? So is there a physical purge that happens when you're doing these energetic vibrational healing modalities?
I think there definitely can be. I've had people tell me that they've come in with a headache and left without one, but also afterwards, like I've had some clients that release by, peeing a lot. Like they'll go 3 times during a session or twice before they leave here or something. So yes, our releases, and I think all of those things are good things, as funny as that might sound. I mean, I don't want somebody leaving here and, having diarrhea for 3 days or whatever, but it's a good thing to release that, because that's all stuck energy. It's stuck in our bodies. And when we release it, we clear that.
Yeah. And like energy is motion. It needs to move. And when it gets stuck, then it's creating that dis-ease, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was me. I was sick for 3 days. I thought for sure she had killed me. That was not good.
That was you, that you had that experience?
Well, I'm not the one asking the question, but I knew what the answer was, because that was me.
Right.
It was not a pleasant experience, but it was exactly what it needed to be. And it truly propelled me forward. And from my experience, it allowed me to be vibrating at a higher level. So I was vibrating at a higher level, which allowed me to tap into my intuitive voice, which I just had so many aha moments. Okay, I know this is what I'm needing to do next, and this is going to happen next. And it was the most creative period of my life that I had right after that session that I had.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. Did you ever speak to the practitioner about it?
Oh yeah, no, I called her asking her if she was trying to kill me. Because first I'm choking and throwing crystals across the room, sitting up when I'm not supposed to, and then I come home and oh my goodness, now I am doubled over with cramps and dying.
Oh, well, I'm sad for your experience, but
no, it was good. Like again, it's that uncomfortableness, like this place of, people get on this love and lighty track, right, where it's kitten toots and rainbows, and it's not. It's a whole other realm. You are really digging in where there are generational healing that you may not be even aware of, traumas that you may not want to have brought to the surface that you've buried really deep, sources of energetic ick that has built up like onion layers over so many different times, and whether it's lifetimes. And I've always looked at it as, because I want to clear it good so I don't have to volunteer to come back. I'm like in all directions of time, space, dimension, alternate realities and alternate dimensions, and thank you very much. So, I mean, I probably am doing it to myself too when I'm allowing myself to do those therapies, but that's how I set my intention. I just don't want to dump the energetic bucket.
Yep.
But with sound, it's dumping and filling at the same time. Like it's dumping the negative and filling with a positive. Is that how you see it? Like that was sort of my impression.
Yep, that's how I see it. And most of my sound healings are done with a guided meditation. And in the beginning of that, I've guided you to relax like every part of your body. And then I ask that you leave behind your experiences from the day or the tension from the day. So you're dumping it, and then you're filling your bucket with the bowls and the the healing that will happen there. So I find almost every single person that leaves here is like, oh, they're either energetic or they're ready for bed. They seem to have like cleared their minds. And
nice.
Yeah,
that would be me. I think where I'm at now on my journey, because that was definitely towards the beginning. Michelle was asking, was that from a Reiki session? So I think Reiki was incorporated into it. It was there was sound, there was singing bowls, various singing bowls and crystals and Reiki that was happening for me too at that time.
For you too. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was 17 years ago. Like
Wow.
it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it was powerful, let me tell you. It was powerful. So that would lead to, like, as we shift our experiences, that's why it would be different each time, right? Like each time somebody comes, they're in a different place, whether there's more conscious awareness or can you see it and feel it? Can you feel that shift or see it when you're in the middle of a practice or a session?
Yeah, during my sound therapy sessions, I can feel how people, like what they bring into the room. I can feel that tension or the anxiety or the stress from the day, and I can feel it in the room as it dissipates as well.
Wow.
And sometimes that comes from me just say I'm playing that, the root chakra bowl 10 times longer than I usually would, let's just say, then the people in the room needed to be grounded more, right? You're coming in from a busy day or something, right? So I do find that I can feel that in the room, and I just play accordingly because that helps me as well. So helps me to ground or to, how do I put that? Yeah, it just helps me as well. So
right. Because sometimes it's big. Like we have, when we're trying to be of service and we're feeling what is coming, for us to be as grounded as possible during that time period.
Right. And that's why it's important to do the opening things and the closing things to protect ourselves. And I've learned so much of that from you, thankfully, over the years. So honestly, like the just bubbling up before people come, calling in my ancestors and spirit guides to help me be the best that I can be that day, to offer what is needed to those people, and then to close out by closing up my bubble or releasing it out, or I often actually burn things too. Like I'll write something down, or even if it's just like a twig that I've found, I'll go out and I'll burn it in the chimenea that I have outside or something, just to feel like, I've closed the space.
Oh, that's lovely. Laura Ballantyne is saying, I love you, Missy.
Oh, I love you.
And there's a Facebook user asking, will the bowls vibrate different when they are done clearing?
Absolutely, because I've had some bowls before, and it took me a while to figure this out. Sometimes, like, certain people will come in here, and that bowl, I just can't get to play. It's like screeching, or like I can't play it. Maybe my wand is like, just for whatever reason, that bowl just won't play, and I'm like cringing inside. But I'm like, nope, just keep playing it, and then eventually the bowl sounds, it comes, like, I think it's once the people in the room, that their chakras are cleared,
interesting,
that it's not needed anymore, then the bowl starts to sound better. So yeah, so sometimes the bowls can definitely sound, or any of the instruments, really, they sound differently.
So it's interacting with the vibrations within the space.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, because
that's fascinating.
You talk about vibration too, right? And lower vibrational emotions, higher vibrational emotions. If I have people coming in here that, I don't know, let's say they're grieving something, or they've had a crappy day at work, or whatever, right? You can feel that, and the vibrations are different in the room. So then the bowls change that. I say the bowls, but I mean the instruments, right? Like the sound bath will change that. So
I find when I'm giving messages and doing a larger group of people, and you can feel them holding your breath, I'll rub my hands together and then I clap. But just even like clapping, that sound is creating a shift and change with the vibration in the space. That Facebook user is saying thank you in the response to that question. They're saying sometimes my bowl is a stinker with certain spaces and it feels different, sounds different for me as well when it's done.
Okay. That's good. Yeah.
what are the different tools that you would use? Are like the different sound healing tools, instruments? What's the proper word?
I say instruments. The
Okay.
majority of mine are crystal singing bowls, and mine range from 4 inches to 20 inches. They all have different sounds to them, like the notes of the music scale. That's where I get a little lost on that. But they're all like my root chakra bowl is a C note. Okay. So they each have a different scale to them. So I have crystal singing bowls. I have a beautiful 36-inch gong that I love to play. Oh my gosh. For the viewers that can see, it's in the background behind me. And I have a crystal pyramid. I use tuning forks. I use an ocean drum. I use native drum. I have rattles, and I have chimes. And I just use whatever I'm intuitively drawn to use that session. There's never a plan. Like never a plan. I might have something in my head that be like, oh, today I'm going to start with the tuning forks. And then no, it calls for something else. So I end up picking up the rattles or something like that. So
does that make you feel like a student at the same time? Even though you're a facilitator, you're like, there would be a piece of you that would like, that's still a student in that, right? Like that's really being of service. That's really letting go of ego and not saying I had a plan and I'm sticking to it and forcing.
Absolutely. I think I hope to always feel like a student, because then I'm always going to be learning something, right? At least that's what I would hope, that I'll be open to that, because I feel like if I'm not open to that, then I'll feel stagnant. Like in the beginning, I definitely had a plan, because I was so stinking nervous to get up in front of people and do this, that I had like a plan. I had written down word for word everything I would say. And, you know, some of my dear friends who I treasure their advice, they would say, Missy, like, you don't need that. You'll know what to say when the time comes. Right. And I couldn't trust that. I couldn't trust myself enough at that time. So I did begin by, say, reading from the script, but then I was like, no, this just isn't working. So now it's just, it flows naturally more too, but I'm also more experienced at it now too. So I give myself a break for being new, because we're all new when we start something, right? And did I answer your question? I tend to get sidetracked.
Yeah, I know, it's beautiful. You totally did. You know what I wanted to ask you, have you ever used a rain stick?
I have, yes, and I have one here. Yes.
Oh,
I brought one back from Australia. I love them.
Tell me about Australia. Tell me about tell me about the journey and the sound journey. So you brought back a rain stick. Tell me everything that led up to that and after. I want to know.
That led up to my trip to Australia?
Just everything. I want to know.
Well, my son is in Australia at this time. He's in law school in Australia. So I decided to go and visit him for a month. My son just chimed in and said he's watching, but his internet is slow. So I'm not sure.
That's kind of good if we're talking about him right now. Then get that part out quick.
Is that timing, or is that like
it's divine timing?
Right.
It is totally divine that Australia comes up and he chimed in to say that he's here. It's beautiful.
I know. Oh my gosh. So anyways, this past January, I went on the biggest adventure of my life and left Canada and went to Australia for a full month. That was my longest trip ever anywhere. And I ended up traveling there with my ex-husband, like Bruno's dad and his wife. So, which was very interesting. It definitely shows that we've come a long way on our own healing journey. Okay. So we traveled there, and now you want to know, like, how did I handle the trip? Or
tell me about the sound healing, like, sensory wise. If you had never been there, what was that like as an empathic, intuitive person to leave a comfort zone and have this whole new experience in another country?
Well, it was scary and frightening, and like the thought of putting myself through the long flight was the worst part for me, because of the chronic pain that I have and the migraines that I have. It's hard for me to sit for that long a period of time, or to experience like airplanes and stuff. So just getting to the point where I could do that long flight, I'm so like happy with myself. I used a lot of the tools that I have in my toolbox to help me get through that. When I landed there, obviously seeing my son was amazing. It was the first time I'd seen him in a year. And I'd never gone like a week before in his entire life without seeing him. So to spend a full month with him and doing touristy things. And, you know, we ended up living in his apartment with him for 3 of the 4 weeks. And it was amazing. Now, I have to say, I did experience some interesting health issues there. And I think now that I've had time to reflect on that, and of course came home and got them looked at by a doctor, I think they were all energetically related. Like I experienced probably the worst vertigo I've had in my life, which is so weird because I don't even know what brought it on. So in experiencing that before accessing, you know, like a foreign country's medical care, you know, this amazing friend that I have, I called her up, and thank God for FaceTime. And she talked me through these, some steps that I had forgotten to do when I traveled to a different country.
Yes.
So I forgot to take my shoes off and ground in that country and bring all the parts of my body and soul to that country. And, you know, after I did that, within 2 days, that vertigo dissipated and I started to feel way better. So energetically speaking, I think that's something important that we need to do whenever we travel anywhere. And even if it's a 6-hour car ride or a 24-hour airplane flight, I think we need to do that. We need to be conscientious of pulling all parts of our body, our mind, our soul back to where we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was big, right? And it's also it's also an example of, you know, that we are collectively doing this together. And even if it's a small group, that we have people within our group that can remind us of tools that we have within us already. So when we are holding our breath and not remembering, when we're feeling disconnected, they can bring us back into a grounded center again.
Right. Yeah.
Cheers to those friends.
Oh, I agree. I agree. We all need to have that toolbox, and in that toolbox should be our like-minded friends that can help us through anything like that. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So your rain stick. Before we go to the rain stick, I'm just going to do a quick hello. If you are just joining us on Spirit Switchboard, thank you for being here. You are listening to this broadcast live with the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Thanks for joining us. So coming back to that conversation, rain stick. So did you bring back other sound tools or crystals? Tell me about that journey in Australia.
Oh man, it took me a couple of weeks to find a crystal store that we could make it to, because everywhere there, I was in Melbourne, Australia for 3 of the full weeks. So everywhere there, we're walking or taking a tram. So it's not just easy to get in the car and drive across Melbourne to a crystal store. So eventually I found one, and I was able to bring home, I can't even remember what they're called right now. I was able to bring home some crystals that were just from Australia. And I also, on top of the rain stick, I brought back didgeridoo.
Oh,
I did. I don't know how to play it yet. I don't know how to play it yet, but I brought it back. So And I'm super excited because they literally had them there. And I'm like, this is what I do. I want to bring home a didgeridoo and a rain stick. And I believe they're called sticks or clackers. They're one of the original sound instruments. They're really just two pieces of wood that you click together. We probably used them in elementary school musical.
Oh, yeah.
They're just two sticks that you clack together. So those are the three instruments that I brought back.
And have you had an opportunity to use them in a sound bath for anybody before?
I've used,
or since you've brought them back?
Yeah, I've used the clackers or sticks, and I've used the rain stick, but I haven't used the didgeridoo yet. Because have you ever tried to play a didgeridoo?
No, but when my kids were smaller, we made homemade rain sticks.
Awesome.
Yeah, and
That's awesome.
Yeah, my one son is so drawn to them, even still as an adult. There's just something about that feels soothing to him.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Like, I would say the rain stick, and another similar feeling instrument, at least for me, like that feels like the rain stick, is the ocean drum. My son was really drawn to that too. It's just a drum that inside is like hundreds of, I'm just going to say like ball bearings, like the little silver ball bearings. And you just rotate it back and forth. It gives you the same feeling like a rain stick. So if your son's looking for something else, like an ocean drum is also a really nice one.
What is, it's a bowl and you put water in it, and it's got the handles, but you wet the handles and you rub the handles and it creates sound, and then the water all vibrates. Do you know?
No.
Okay, so I'm on a mission now to remember what it's called, and then to send it to you to do as well too. But you draw like your hands back and forth with the handles being wet, and it creates this sound, and the vibration makes the water bump.
That sounds amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And again, the kids really loved it. A water drum. It's a water drum. Is that what they're called? I thought there was something a little more than that, but I love, if it's just a water drum, that's fabulous.
Wow.
Are you able to do a wee bit of a show and tell with some of your sound instruments?
I will explain that the sound does not carry well over the internet, at least with the microphones that I have. Right. I'm happy to get up and go and try it.
And it's really meant to be an experience, not necessarily like through an interview, but you can certainly explain it. But there's more to the healing session, right? Like a meditation and relaxing. So this is it really is a show and tell kind of thing.
Right. So do you want me to try and play them?
Sure. I want to hear that gong. Is that okay?
It is perfectly okay, but I have to tell you, we've been trying for days now to find a mic that would pick it up, and it does not do it justice. Like, you are not going to hear what it sounds like in person. So it's very unfortunate.
I appreciate that you're going to, and I will not feel guilty like I'm strong-arming you.
You're not strong-arming me.
Because honestly, it is stunning. If you go to, how can they find you on Facebook? It's Accessing Reiki with Missy on Facebook.
Yes.
And Reiki with Missy on Instagram.
Yes.
So if you go to her page, I highly suggest that you go to her page, and you can see the images and the photographs of the gong up close, because the etchings that are on it are stunning.
Oh, I love it. As soon as I saw it, it was just like anything else, like any of these other sound instruments or anything I've been doing in the last 3 years. I was immediately drawn to it. Like, I just had this gut feeling that I just knew that gong had to be mine. How do I make it happen? So it's just like anything else. Like that gong, oh my gosh, when I first saw it, I saw it like 4 months ago at this place that I shop at in Niagara for my instruments. And I said to myself, if it's there when I come back, I need to seriously consider. And it was. So I just said, mine.
That's so brilliant. Yeah. If you are willing to share a few things with us, then that would be lovely.
Sure. I will move my chair. And can you still hear me from here, Kerrilynn?
Yep, totally. I can hear you. Thank you so much. Look at the size of that.
This is the ocean drum that I was mentioning to you, and I'm not sure how this carries, but
Wow. There's so many people commenting about the gong. Everyone is saying, wow. And if that's what it sounds like over the internet, I can only imagine. And it is. Joanne is saying the gong is vibrating into my being like that. It was spectacular listening. Thank you for sharing that with us, because I know that's not the same experience as it is in person. I can only imagine how that is in person. My whole third eye center, like between my eyebrows, was thumping.
well,
it was pulsating. It was lovely.
And that gong is tuned to A, which is our third eye.
Yeah, my whole third eye started pumping, just
That's
pulsating as soon as you did. It was I did this. Oh, I was trying to not say anything out loud, but oh yeah, the little kid in me was like, oh yeah, I want more of that.
Oh my gosh, that's how I feel when I start playing it now. Like I had this gorgeous 21-inch gong and I loved it, right? And then I brought home this absolutely stunning 36-inch gong, and the 21-inch gong, the poor little guy's over to the side, not being played anymore.
That's so what are the healing benefits of sound? Like, what are some of the healing benefits that people, may experience from a sound therapy?
I would love for people to leave with a feeling of deep relaxation. Would be my number one hope for everybody, that they gain some deep relaxation from it. For me, it's helped me with clarity and focus. It helps to reduce stress and anxiety. It can help with your sleep. It can help improve your mood, taking away some of that anxiety and depression. It helps me with some pain management at times. Like
I use my tuning fork with my arthritis on my elbow.
Awesome. Yeah.
And it helps.
I use my tuning forks all the time too. And that's even just the ones that make the sound and the ones that you put onto your body, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love them. With deeper relaxation, you can allow your body to begin to heal. Like it's sound therapy has been said to help reduce blood pressure, have less migraines, sometimes better flow to your brain. It also one of the number one things that I love about it is it helps your parasympathetic nervous system to relax. So that whole fight, flight, or freeze, it really helps with that. So I know that's like I often call that maybe my anxiety or something, right? But it really is that it's your parasympathetic nervous system is heightened, and you're either not sleeping or you're jittery or you're nervous all the time, and it really helps with that. So. Yeah.
I think it's great. And I know that I've shared this with you. Yeah. That I have my singing bowl as well too. But I mean, I know.
Are you going to tell everybody what you do with your singing bowl? You don't have to. I'm not going to out you.
It's okay. But I've used the singing bowl, but I don't understand. Like, I don't know what tone it's at. I don't understand all of that, and so, in my ignorance, I'm just assuming that it will do what it's needing to do, and if I'm setting the intention to be open and receptive to it, so I just played around with it that way on my own, especially with my granddaughter, because my granddaughter loves it. She's very drawn to it as well too. But awesome. When and maybe it is that flight or fright. How did you phrase that? Like that whole anxiety, like I can feel when it's building up with, depending on the energy that I'm feeling moving into a session. And so I tuck it underneath my desk with water and salts, and I put my feet in it, and then I give it a knock. But it's grounding me, and I can feel it vibrating right up through the bottom of my feet all the way to my crown. Like I don't know how else to explain it. But anyway, so I know it's horrifying, and I'm sorry.
It's not horrifying. You have found a tool that works for you. And I think that's absolutely fabulous. I cringe personally because like, oh my gosh, like I move these, and like the fear for me of breaking them or chipping them or something is so real. I just couldn't imagine like just sticking my feet in them. But I think that's amazing.
I carry it, and I tell it how much I love it while I'm carrying it with water. I love you so much. Thank you for everything you're about to do for me.
I love it. That's awesome.
I don't even think twice. I'm like, because I know if I think about it, then I'm going to create it. So I don't worry about the dogs aren't running around me. I'm not going to bump into the wall. I move it over gently, and I'm always, even my eyes are closed, and I'm sliding it with my hands underneath the desk going, thank you so much for everything you're about to do.
I love it.
Such a weirdo.
That's awesome.
But you can feel it when you hit it for me. And we are not saying that this is sound therapy. This is strictly Kerrilynn being a weirdo. But I think, but maybe that's part of it, right? Like, it's okay to be a little bit of a weirdo. The tuning fork was for me a little bit as well too. Like, I didn't understand what to necessarily do with the tuning fork, but I understood once I started using it, what felt natural for me and how it felt like it needed to work. So it's just finding a place to start with a 4-inch singing bowl and then moving into something else, right? And just allowing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think you're a weirdling. I call myself a weirdling too, so maybe we're two peas in a pod. Right?
I guess. I don't know. I guess.
I love it.
So, what would be your top tips in starting a healing journey?
My top tips. The first thing I would say is
a wellness journey, right?
Right. Well, I was really hard on myself in the beginning, and I also really just wanted to learn like everything. Like I was trying to learn, and I still am to a certain point, but I guess my number one tip would be get to know your intuition and then use it and trust it. That would be my number one thing. Like think in your life of all the things that you've done or experienced that, you know, maybe you could have used your intuition, or your intuition was saying, don't do that. And you did it anyways. And then it bit you. Right. Mm-hmm. I would just say, get to know your intuition, whatever that means to you, whatever that looks like to you, just do that. And go easy on yourself. Like let things go, forgive yourself, give yourself grace and forgiveness for not knowing something or having a crappy day or for whatever. Just allow yourself some grace and forgiveness. I continually tell myself that because we all get messed up. We all get sidetracked. We all make mistakes, and we just have to let it go. Right. And that's been a mantra for me for a while. Just let it go. Like just forgive yourself and find ways to release that. Don't carry that energy with you, because that energy, if you keep beating yourself up, it'll just bring you down. It'll lower your vibration. Right. So let that crap go. I could also say, you know, set goals, but in doing that, also be open to those goals moving and flowing. So, you know, like at the beginning of my journey, I realized I wanted to get into Reiki. So I took my first degree, and then nothing happened for about 2 years after that. And I didn't really know where to go with that or what to do with that. Right. So instead of feeling like once my journey picked up again, I gave myself grace and forgiveness for those 2 years and just continue moving on, right? Like the goal has changed and I've moved with it. So I would say set goals, but would be willing to flow with them as well.
Great.
I suppose another tip would be don't compare yourself to others, because in the beginning, I did do some of that. Like, well, this person's doing this and maybe I should be doing this. And no, I should be doing what I should be doing. Mm-hmm. I should stay in my lane and do what Missy's meant to do. That doesn't mean we can't like experience what others do or like their lines of work, or it doesn't mean we can't read the books or whatever, but do what you want to do, what your heart and soul are calling you to do. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's total. Thank you.
Yeah. And take the time to do things that bring you joy, whatever that means to you. Like not everything can be all about your wellness journey and your like what's next, you know, like take that time to experience. Like for me, that's going to nature, right? Like my husband and I will go for drives. We head to the beach, we go to water, we go for walks and stuff like that. For me, it's all about nature and connecting with that. So or going to concerts, because we also love live concerts. Back to that music thing, right? So,
what was the last concert you went to? That's live
Blue Rodeo.
Concert. Blue Rodeo,
of course.
Was that last year?
Yes, it was last year in November. Believe it or not, on a 22-degree day in November. It was so amazing and awesome. Yeah. But that was my first and only concert like since the pandemic.
COVID. Yeah, yeah.
Right. So yeah. So Blue Rodeo, definitely. I guess that was 5 things, but I did have one other thing, and that is
It's all good. Bring the tips on.
okay. Find your like-minded friends, your friends that you know they got you, that they can understand you and not you know, that they're supportive. So find that group, your group, your tribe, whatever you want to call it, and hang with them, do things with them, and create that support system for yourself. Because in my experience, this journey has changed almost everything in my life. Like I lost. Let's see. I won't say I lost, outgrew, moved on, found new friends. I'm not sure even how to phrase it, but I find I don't have as much in common with the people that I used to hang around with, whether that be work friends or motorbiking friends or whatever it is. So find those friends and you know, support them as they're supporting you. So
I think when we shift vibrationally, we're just not in that same alignment anymore, right? And it's there. Francis Mullman, I think I watched. I think it's called Chef's Table, and Francis Mullman was one of those episodes, and he said it so brilliantly. It's not that I don't love you anymore or that I don't like you. I just don't resonate with you anymore. And why would I make myself uncomfortable just to make sure that you are comfortable? He said, I'm just not willing to do that anymore. So that was, I just appreciated seeing and hearing that from him. And it was that aha moment. When we shift and change and we're doing that work, we're just not in alignment with certain people anymore. It doesn't negate that we once were in that same place, and we can still look back with love and gratitude, but we still have to keep moving forward.
Right. That's powerful, Kerrilynn. That's really powerful. I'm going to have to watch that one. And
I think too, it gives that time for people to move forward with us, right? Like,
yep, absolutely.
Something to look towards.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about sorry, I just got sidetracked. Squirrel on Red Bull. Here we go. So when people are looking at or seeking out alternative healers, do you have any guidelines on what they should look for? Because we don't all have like access to getting to you. What sort of things, because I find all like psychic readers, mediums, we all bring a different approach and we all have different intention, right? So is it trial and error with different healing modalities, or with sound therapy, trusting your intuition? Like, do you have some guidance in supporting how to seek somebody out?
I think potentially you need to experience them, talk to them maybe. Most practitioners, I would say, should be willing to have like a private conversation with you before just launching into like sessions or something.
Right.
I think you really need to find somebody that you resonate with, because everybody resonates with different people, right? Like you get feelings from people when you meet them. And, like, here's an interesting story, but when I was searching for my Reiki master teacher, I wanted to continue my Reiki degrees. Okay. And I kept hearing these 2 ladies' names kept coming to me. Okay. Through groups. And those are the things you pay attention to, right? Or I pay attention to. There's a reason why I'm hearing those names. So I booked a session with each of them, with the 2 ladies, and I experienced the sessions. And I can tell you hands down, I chose one lady and absolutely not the other because of my experiences. So I did end up booking the 2 sessions, and I went through that. And
So be open.
Be open. Yeah. Be open to the experience you're going to have. Be open to, feeling whether.
Because
Go
even
ahead.
with referrals, it depends. Like you would almost have to ask with the referrals, like what their intentions were before they went, not just like what because I find like when people are asking about choosing a medium, that tends to be my response as well too. Like referrals are great. Like you want somebody that is trusted, but find out what that person's intentions were when they booked the session, because if it's like intentions are going to matter, right? Like you went because you wanted to relax, or you went because you had a physical health issue, like,
That's true. That's true as well. Yep, that's true as well. I've had clients book in with me, and I almost knew immediately that the session was almost like an interview, because they then asked me to be their teacher. So, you start to pick up on those things, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And when they come as an interview, sometimes that, you can relax into that a little bit more, because they've clearly heard something that has drawn them to you, right?
Exactly. And I just try to be myself and present myself. And I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I think I've heard you say that too. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I probably teach different ways. I do. I mean, everybody teaches differently, right? And has sessions differently. So everybody's experience will be different with different practitioners or teachers. So.
Yeah. And it's an interesting thing because when they come as a student, do you find at some point then it becomes like a friend and colleague? Like there's a shift that happens, when they get their own set of tools going and their confidence growing, where you can step back and just be a cheerleader and support system for them.
Yeah, and that's what I hope. That's what I would like to happen, is that they can just come to me as colleagues from then on, and we have Reiki shares and stuff together, and I can be their biggest cheerleader.
It's fun to be in that position. Do you teach sound therapy too?
I don't. I haven't. I suppose I.
Is that next?
Well, actually, I hadn't really even thought about it. I think I need to do a lot more on the book learning part of that before.
Right.
Because, I mean, I can teach somebody how I play intuitively, and I can show you how I play the gong or I play the crystal singing bowls. But I think, you need to learn your own methods of that, right? And it depends what people want to learn from sound therapy too. Like, I know some basics about like music and what notes the chakras are and stuff like that, but I can't speak on like the science behind it and that, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah. I just know do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. It runs the whole chakras from root to crown.
There you go.
If you do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And if you sing from the sound of music, that whole song, it balances your chakras out. And so I teach everybody that.
I love it. I had never heard that before, actually, but I
love fact.
Oh gosh. Well, that's it. I'm folding up my business. I'm just going to teach people how to sing do, re, mi.
It's totally works though. So would you point somebody, where would you point them to start though? If they wanted to start with sound and playing around with sound for themselves at home, what's a good start?
Well, I would say get a crystal singing bowl, but that's me, because that's where I started, right? That was what I was drawn to. But potentially.
But there's so many choices. How do you know which one to choose?
So I go to this place. Am I allowed to say where it is? Or okay, I go to this place in Niagara. Local. Okay,
but I mean, we have people listening from all over the world. But
okay, yeah. So I would say find your local sound healing instrument shop. Okay. Maybe not your typical like where the band goes to buy their guitars or anything, but a sound healing instrument shop, wherever that may be. And I would say go and play the instruments. The lady that owns the place I go to, you book a private appointment for like 2 hours or however long. Oh my gosh, it's like I'm a kid in a candy store when I go there. And I take my one dear friend with me she also has a bunch of sound healing instruments, and we're starting to do things together. We go together and you pick up things and play them. And that's the biggest tip for choosing like where to start would be go play them and see how you feel, or go to a sound bath and hear and feel how they feel in your body, and then choose from there, if that makes sense.
Are there questions that people should ask when they're looking at crystal bowls, like, where they're made? Are they supporting Indigenous communities? Like, is there, the right way of acquiring these? An ethical way. I shouldn't say right. Ethical, I guess, is probably more the word that I'm looking for.
I don't really know so much about the ethical ways of like crystal singing bowls. I don't think they're made in a place where it would be unethical, if that makes any sense. Let me think. I would say maybe when choosing your drum, maybe then you need to ask certain questions to be respectful of the Indigenous ways, right? Let's see. My brain got sidetracked.
That's okay. That's okay. I just wondered if you had certain questions that, could help prompt. Like, I know that I have, when I'm talking to people about choosing a medium, these are the questions that I would be asking first before making my decision. So I just wondered if you had the same sort of approach where, but going into a place and feeling it is huge, because our spirit, our soul knows what's most in alignment for us. And I'm one of those people, like, I'm very tactile. If I get pulled to touch it, then I know that there's something in it that I'm supposed to bring home with me. Because as soon as I touch it, I know there's money exchange about to happen.
Pretty much me and crystals. And sound instruments too. Yeah. I could also say potentially, like, depends on what your goal is. If you are wanting to bring home a couple of instruments to help with your journey, then choose what you feel is right for you and what sounds good together. If you're potentially looking at starting a business with this, then you need to make sure that all of these instruments work well together too. So, like, just speaking on my singing bowls, the first several times I went up there, I packed all of my bowls up there, drove them up there, unpacked them in her place, and then chose a new bowl based on how it sounded and felt with the other bowls. So I needed to do that in order to, like, mine feels like a full set to me, like they complement each other. So if that makes any sense.
For sure.
Okay. So those are questions to ask too, because she said to me the first time I went up there, she goes, "Bring your bowls." And I'm like, "I'm not bringing all my bowls." I brought all my bowls, and I knew I had to after that, because you want to make sure that they complement each other, right?
That's good for us to understand.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And that they complement each other. In my whole head, I just played that out as, like they're all friends and they're choosing their next friend buddy that's in alignment with them. So they're kind of letting you know what they're needing, not necessarily that you get to pick.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. How Kerrilynn's brain works.
I love your brain.
But if we're empathic, we feel all of this, right? And that vibration and feeling. Do you find, like, that you're continuously opening up more, the more work that you do, the more that you're understanding, the more intuitive, the more sensitive? Like, how has that changed your daily life?
My daily life. I just find I am way more empathic and intuitive, and I listen to it way more now. I pay attention to it more. There's things I do to keep that healthy for me, to not be overwhelmed. because it is very overwhelming for as an intuitive person or an empathic person to be out there in the world. It can be overwhelming at times. So yeah, we do need to take care of that, right?
Yeah. Do people release, like, I guess when I used to do hair, so I used to do hair long time ago. I used to be a hairstylist, and it turns into like a therapy job.
I've had people telling me their life stories since I was a little kid, honestly.
That's
And
empathic.
I never even really knew that was a thing until I
Yeah.
started to learn that that was a thing. And then I'm like, yeah, like people will just come up and they, even prior to this, I'm just, you know, auto worker Missy there or motorcycle girl Missy there. And people are telling me their stories, their divorces, their losing a person they loved, like whatever it was. I'm like, and sometimes I was like, do I have a sign like written on my forehead that says, please tell me your life story? I'm happy to hear them. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm happy to hear that. But I'm like, why me? What is it about me that draws people to just open up and tell me all that stuff? But you know, now I know I feel like I'm a compassionate person and I just want to help people. So I think that in order to not become overloaded with that, we have to create that bubble or create that time and space when we open ourselves to that, and then have to potentially close that down to get through some daily life. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I have gotten much better, whether it's age, which, you know, plays a factor in it too, but much better at being okay and saying, I require a lot of downtime in order to stay balanced, and not feeling guilty about that, and not feeling bad that I don't have all of these amazing vacation photos up on social media. Most of, you know, my time is on the couch with the dogs, or when I have time with my granddaughter, right? Like I require a lot of downtime in order to be okay and process and let go of the things. Do you find that sessions can be intense where you're requiring that, or just, I guess, maybe just being empathic in itself?
Oh, I definitely sessions can definitely take a lot out of me if I allow it. So in the beginning, I was exhausted. Like I would go inside, my studio's in the garage, so I would go into the house and I'd just say to my husband, like, I'm done. I'm going to lay down for 2 hours or whatever it is, right? I could be shaking sometimes from nerves, or that was me losing energy, I think. So I've become a lot better at not doing that. So like putting up those boundaries and stuff. And I absolutely also require a lot of downtime in maybe different ways, obviously different ways, but we all have different ways of doing that, right? And my downtime is sometimes, you know, going for a walk in nature or sitting out in my own backyard, walking the labyrinth or whatever. Yeah, I also, there's a lot of
Tell me about the labyrinth.
Oh, the labyrinth.
Talk to us about the labyrinth.
So I, everywhere I go, I'm drawn to rocks, crystals. That just naturally led to crystals. And everywhere I went for years, I'd bring back all these rocks. Like I just couldn't stop bringing back rocks from everywhere I went, whether they were big or small or whatever. So my entire flower beds are full of rocks. And one day at the beginning of the pandemic, we had to cut down these 2 trees. So there was this empty space in the backyard. And I kept looking at it and looking at it. And I started to see this vision of this spiral labyrinth being created there. So that's what I did. We gathered up all of my rocks from around the house and in all the plants and windowsills I had them in. And I started just intuitively laying them out and creating this labyrinth out there. And it's grown. It's almost doubled in size since I started it. With the number of rocks that are in there. Plus we sort of created a pathway through the other 2 trees that are there, that I have this beautiful set of Adirondack chairs that's in there. You can have a chat. And And now I offer it out to clients or friends or family that want to come over, and you can choose a stone that's in like a kettle beside the beginning point, and you can go and place your own rock anywhere on the path that you'd like. It's I consider it like a walking meditation, because I'm not great at the close your eyes and be in silence and meditate. So
Right.
like I said earlier, my meditation is with sound therapy, or I go out and walk the labyrinth. Like, as long as there's not snow and ice on the ground, I go out there, and it just feels so relaxing and energizing at the same time.
And all of that energy from different places being, grounded into that one location.
I agree. Yes.
Like, you're pulling that energy from all these different places. So that's amazing.
Yeah. I love it. Like, I have stones from Nova Scotia and Alberta, and even one tiny little one from China. I couldn't find any to bring back from Australia, believe it or not, because we were in a concrete jungle, basically living in Melbourne. But anyways, yeah, there's stones out there from everywhere.
But you brought back sound instruments that could be used while you're walking.
I did. Yes, I did. I was going to show you my didgeridoo, but I left it over by the table. So,
oh, if you want to, yeah, please.
Well, this is the lovely didgeridoo that I brought back from Australia. Wait, how do I do that?
Do you play? Have you played it?
Nope.
So there's no show and tell, just a show at the moment.
Here's the show. Yes. No, I haven't played it. I've tried, and it's embarrassing, but I'll learn. It's one of those things between that and this flute that I bought. I'll try. I'll work on it, and I'll figure it out. And even if it's just to play for me, it might not become part of the sound baths, but just the act of picking up the flute or the didgeridoo is calming for me. Like, it's like a meditation. So if my brain is like overstimulated or overwhelmed, or I need to find some clarity and focus, like, I'll come out here and play any of these instruments. Like that gong, I played for a full hour straight, like 2 days.
Oh my goodness.
Honestly, and I stood there and I felt it. I stood back and I felt it. I listened to it. I played it in all different ways. I connected with it, right? And that's also something I would recommend to anybody. Whatever you get or decide to get, just connect with it, play with it, see how it feels for you, try different things with it, and just connect it. So
you're building a relationship with those tools.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And again, it's the energy that you're putting in and the energy that you're receiving. It is a give and take with any of our spiritual tools, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Jessie May Como was saying, she was talking when we were talking. I'm sorry that I didn't share this with you earlier. She said, I love that. Just finished level 2, ready to start master. Great info, Missy. Awesome. And there is a Facebook user letting us know the labyrinth that you made is beautiful and so peaceful. And the labyrinth is a great space for breaks. When learning Reiki, it was so helpful.
Beautiful. That's lovely to hear. Because I want everybody to have the opportunity to use it when they're here, if they can, whether it be with group sessions or private sessions or teaching. It's always available. Like, I explain to everybody how to use it, where the spare rocks are. Just go out and please feel free to use it. So I'm really glad that
and the energy will charge up, right? Do you find like solstices, doing those times, the change of seasons, that energy will amp up?
Yeah, I think the more I've used it, the more like, just from my own personal journey with the labyrinth, the more I use it, the more I walk it, the more I get to know it, the more I feel like the energy from the rocks. It also, for me, I have memories associated with bringing those rocks home. So my mind goes through like the memories from those trips. They're usually calming memories, like gathering them on beaches or something like that, right? So yeah, the energy definitely builds in it. Just like the space in here, like as I've used it and had clients and sessions, the energy builds in here too, as I'm sure you have in your own space too, right?
Yeah.
Your own workspace or, yeah.
But I love that, there was an exchange that happened. Those trees had to come down and be taken away, and you replaced it by giving an offering as well too. Like, I just think that that Mother Earth appreciates that as well too. Like, we need to be mindful of our resources and mindful of what we're doing with the earth around us and how we're treating it. And that those trees had to come out and you replace it with something beautiful and are offering it to people to share that space with is beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Well, thank you for that, because I hadn't really thought of it that way before. But so thank you for that, because that feels really lovely and right. So, and that is what happened. Yeah, they had to come down, and we wanted to do something with that space, and out of that space, we created something. So
yeah. Well, I mean, you may not have thought of it consciously in that same way, but I think intuitively you paid attention to maybe what that land wanted, because you said you kept looking and then it just kept showing up and seeing. So I think that you were so in tune to your land and property, it was letting you know what the next steps were for both the land and you.
thank you. Yes, you're
so welcome. I'm glad you listened.
Oh, and sometime if you're down in this area, please come down and place a rock on my labyrinth. I would love it.
I have a rock to contribute. I have rocks from Lake Superior, so
that would be
I
awesome.
could bring you a Lake Superior rock, because that's where my home. That's where my spirit loves to be. My soul loves being up along the northern shore. So I definitely have, every time I go up, try to bring rocks back from Lake Superior.
I would absolutely love that. Thank you.
Certainly, I can contribute to Lake Superior. And I think that maybe needing to set the intention to come and feel what that gong would be like in person.
Sure, that sounds wonderful too.
Do you have are there some events or places there where people can connect with you coming up?
Yeah, so this summer has I have a few events that I'm doing. Probably the one that I want to tell you about the most is an event called She Rises. You can find it at sherises.ca, and it's going to be held at Springwater Conservation Area near Aylmer, Ontario. And She Rises is an event that the creator created it to honor the divine feminine in any person. And it's a 2-day weekend thing that includes camping and workshops and a community meal. And it's just amazing. I went by myself last year and experienced it on my own, just received all the different workshops, and I journaled all day long. I had such an amazing experience. And this year I'm honored to be a facilitator. So I will be having 2 sessions, one on the Saturday and one on the Sunday, that anybody can sign up for. And it will be an 1.5 to 2 hour sound bath. So,
wow.
So there's that. And there's so many other amazing facilitators, and there'll be a vendor event there. Yeah, I'm the only thing I'm sad about that weekend is that I can't experience the other workshops, because I'll be doing my own. But I love it. So yeah. And of course, I have my own monthly sound baths here that are they're in the if you join my page, you'll see they're held the second weekend of every month. Those are ones that anybody can join. Like if one person or wants to come, or 2 people, whatever, you just speak for your seats. Otherwise, I'm open for like private group bookings and stuff like that too. I am attending a retreat this summer that's the first of its kind, and it's called Highway to Heal. It's the first of this retreat, and it's this lovely lady who very sadly lost her husband last year, and now she is feeling the desire to give back to people, and she wants to create a retreat to help people through grief of any kind. So that's called Highway to Heal. And
are you facilitating there?
I will be there doing a sound bath again. Yes. So
and how would they find, like, where would they find that information?
They could go to Instagram, Highway to Heal. It's the number 2, okay. So Highway to Heal. Okay. And they can find it on there. It will also be being shared on my page again when there's an event created. So there's that.
Just share your pages again on how they can access you.
So on Facebook, you can find me at Accessing Reiki with Missy. And on Instagram, it's Reiki with Missy. And I have a website that's in the planning stages, but it's not up and running yet. So that'll be announced on my pages when it is. So
yeah, you do have like a web name or the address for it. It's just not live at the moment.
Right. It's not. I own the name, however you want to call it yet, but I have
the domain.
Right, the domain. Thank you. And it's called ownyourownhealing.ca.
I love that.
I love it too.
And it just speaks so much of your journey and what you want to provide to people, right?
Absolutely. That's what I want people to do, is to own their own healing, like to potentially come and learn here and then move on and, learn to own your own healing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Okay. So I just want to make sure that I did all that. And then I wanted to ask, if you had any tips or advice to encourage people to have that sense of wonder, like being open-minded to things that are outside of the box when conventional may not be working, or to their intuition. What would be some words of advice that you could give to?
I guess just follow your intuition. If you're feeling drawn to something, as you've mentioned, try and experience it in whatever way you can and see if it's a right fit for you. Just to be open to new experiences.
That's it. Jump into that new experience, right?
Right.
Because you just don't know.
Jump in, but also listen to your body, because at one point in my journey, I kept saying, I'm just going to say yes to everything. And then I'm like, no.
That actually felt horrifying to me.
Right? I learned that very quickly. I'm like, I can't say yes to everything because that doesn't feel right for me. So listen to your body, but don't be afraid to try the new things that present themselves to you, I guess would be my best tip.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And spoken from experience, right? Like our body responds and lets you know when something's off kilter, and people need to see the bottom of your shoes while you're running away.
I love it.
Yeah. No is a full sentence. Like it's really, I agree. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here, and I know this was outside of your comfort zone too, so I'm glad that you said yes to this. I love sharing time, space, and energy with you, and feeling what you have to offer, and it just comes from such a pure space and a pure intention, and it's felt, and I appreciate all of who you are and that you share that with all of us.
Well, thank you, Kerrilynn. I also have the highest respect and love for you. Like, you are just incredible at what you do. And the main reason why I said yes today is because I'm so comfortable with you. Like, you make me feel very comfortable. So I knew I was safe today in all my nerves and my worries. I knew I was safe. So
thank you so much. Well, I hope that you come back on another time.
Well, I will then.
That's
yes.
So great. So thank you, everybody, for being here today and listening and joining in with us. Next week, I have Rick McCollum coming on the show. He is the co-founder of Hollywood Ghost Hunters. He is a stunt actor and author. So he's going to be coming on talking about his paranormal experiences, and I'm excited about sharing that. Thank you so much to the listeners, and you have been listening to Spirit Switchboard on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Network, 105.3 and 107.7, New Orleans. You've been listening to Spirit Switchboard with host Kerrilynn Shellhorn on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3, New Orleans.